These programs are live streamed on all the social media platforms of UGC, and typically thousands of students, faculty members, heads of the institutions watch these programs. And these videos will be available on our social media platforms even after the program is over. And we notice that thousands of people, they come back and watch these videos. Friends, today we have a very, very interesting lecture on a concept called LiFE, L-I-F-E, lifestyle for the environment. Friends, you know that in many aspects which affect the human societies globally, India has taken a lead in the recent past and has nurtured the global community to adopt the best practices. For example, India was behind the concept of the International Yoga Day, bringing back our attention to conducting ourselves in a way that maintains good health, both physically and mentally. And International Yoga Day is celebrated globally now. And you also know that this year, 2023, is the International Millets Day. And UGC has been promoting this across the university ecosystem. And who is behind this? It is India. It is at the prompt of India that United Nations has declared 2023 as the International Millets Day. And similarly, in November 2021, you might have heard about COP, a committee of parties in the 26th United Nations Climate Change Conference of the Parties, COP26 in Glasgow. Our Honorable Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi, he introduced the idea of LiFE, lifestyle for the environment, to promote more environmentally responsible consumption and behavior, not just only in India, but across the globe. To quote the Prime Minister, he said, "Mission LiFE makes the fight against climate change democratic, in which everyone can contribute within their capacity. It inspires us to do all that can be done in our everyday life to protect the environment." Friends, there is a significant message, meaning in this statement, because the environment consists of not just only we human beings, the entire ecosystem consists of small microbes, bacteria, which is only a few microns size, to the biggest animals, both on earth, on the ground, and in the water. And we all have to coexist. And often we forget that our individual actions in our everyday life will not only affect each other, it will also affect the life forms everywhere across the globe. And that's the reason why it is important that we adjust our lifestyle, be conscious of what we are doing every day, the way we consume the electricity, the way we utilize the water, the way we are inventing new materials which may not be environmentally friendly at all. Recently, some scientists have found plastic bricks in faraway islands. And you can see the kind of impact what we are doing in our everyday life and what new technologies that we are developing for the common good of the human societies, how they are affecting, and we need to be mindful about this. And that's the reason why the concept LiFE, the idea here is to bring back our attention to mindful and deliberate utilization in place of mindless and destructive consumption. And India has played a significant role over a period of centuries or a period of thousands of years on promoting harmonious coexistence, whether it is living being or non-living being. We all have to coexist in a very harmonious way, and that is what India has promoted. And it is good that we are now looking at how the mission life can borrow from our past and operate in the present and also focus on the future. So friends, here today we have two experts to deliberate on the concept of life. We have Shri Sharat Kumar Pallerla, who is advisor and scientist G in Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. And we also have Shri Parth Joshi, who is a development and research advocacy professional in UNDP India. I am on behalf of UGC and all of you who have joined on this platform. It gives me pleasure to extend a warm welcome to both of our speakers. I will first invite the speaker, the first speaker, Shri Sharat Kumar Pallerla from Ministry of Environment, to speak on the concept of the life. Shri Sharat Kumar Pallerla.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Good morning, all of you. Let me share my presentation. I hope it is visible.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. So in this contest, I welcome all of the dignitaries, the participants on the today's webinar. I will be speaking on the mission life. So that is lifestyle for environment. So what actually the principles of this life, why it is important for all of us, but I would like to take up. So you can see, say like a problem statement, like if you see according to the NASA, so atmospheric carbon in last 8 lakh years to be used to be a 3000 ppm only, but presently it is creeping up to 420 ppm. So this shows the alarming level of the today's position. So second, you can see the ice sheets of the Himalayas have shrinking 10 times the faster than the last the 4 decades in the last 7 centuries. So it means what is the rate of, say, depletion that is happening with the present lifestyle. You can see that the global sea levels also predicted to rise to 2 to 6 feet by 2100 end of the century. Also, the global economy will be losing 18% of GDP by 2050 if no climate action is taken. So this shows we should act now to avoid the impending climate crisis. The further, if you see that the reports from the IPCC, that is Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, so which gives the science, the physical science for the climate change, so mainly emphasize the climate change is the consequence of the present the situation. Presently, it is 1.5 degrees above the pre-industrial level. And now, if say there are the different scenarios and projections that has been made, like 1.5 degrees and 2 degrees. So 1.5 degrees is the maximum target that say to sustain our life. That is our target as per the Paris Agreement and the different multilateral organizations. See the reason. If you see consumption pattern of the, say, rich and developing world, so 10% of households with say highest per capita, the emissions is contributing 34 to 45%, whereas 50% of the global population is contributing just 13 to 15%. This is just why it is because of the demand side, the emission drivers. So which may be the technology, that the use of the fossil fuels, or the socio-cultural behaviors, individuals, the behavioral, the patterns of the unsustainable consumptions are really the responsible for it. Keeping all this in view, so India is one of the responsible country. We have introduced a concept. Our Honorable Prime Minister has introduced a concept called as a LiFE, that is lifestyle for environment, to nudge the individuals. It is a basically for mindful and deliberate utilization instead of mindless and destructive consumption. So this was introduced as one of the NDC, that is nationally determined contribution, that is the commitment to the under the Paris Agreement to the UN from the India, that so we will be following the LiFE. And this is nothing but a making recognize one has to as a pro-planet people. So what exactly it is? So it is nothing but a throw-away economy to a circular economy. Just you use and just throw. It will end onto the ecosystem. It will have a lot of implications and all. You have seen the COVID-19 that has proved, despite of the many scientific and technological innovations and achievements that we can able to curtail, but so it is we have lived on the mercy of the nature. Further, say the threat is more dangerous because of the throwaway society driven by wasteful the consumerism and all. It shows that the change is urgent, change is inevitable, and all of us, not only the government or the institutions, or every individual, everyone on the world, on the earth, need to have a role to play to curtail this crisis. Otherwise, it will have the impact on the survival itself. So LiFE, actually, you can see what actually, if you want to change, if you want to start yourself, so when small drops will become a very big, it will lead into the rivers and the oceans. So everything, the cumulative impact of individuals will have a very huge. If you want to change the world, it has to be started from ourselves. A responsible individual climate action is a key for safeguarding our collective futures. If you see the Indian, the historical, the responsibility, we are 60% lower than our global average of the carbon footprint. Why? It is just because of our sustainable and traditional practices that we follow in the India. So that is the traditional practice is inbuilt in our behaviors. So that is why it has to be say this movement is a global movement. It have led by India. So this movement seeks the transform of the persons to a pro-planet people by following a very, very simple and easy to follow steps. You can see, just to highlight, say what the individual actions really have the responsibility. If you see the single-use plastic, annually about 500 million plastics are used worldwide, but it has got a life of 15 minutes. And if you see the average globe of the global person waste about 2.5 liters of the water a day in brushing and bathing utensil and laundry. Say turning off lights, ACs and heaters, so which can be saved, has got a potential to save 282 kilowatts of energy per day. So if it has been practiced, and 30 minutes of the idling of a traffic signal waste nearly 1 liter of the fuel. So these are some examples. So these are some problem statement where the potential exists. Say seeing the potential, India has pioneered in the mass movements, particularly the social movements in several aspects, like the Swachh Bharat mission, the Give It Up scheme. So these are the schemes really has motivated the people and given very good results and can show to the world the best examples of this country to the world, where we can have a social movement, say in solving the problems. See, the Prime Minister has recently launched the Catch the Rain program, which nudges the states for creating a rainwater harvesting and sustainable. Indian civilization itself has got imbibed the sustainable lifestyles and eco-friendly habitats in their the behavior and culture itself. So these are the some India's example. If we go to the global examples, for example, what are the several practices that are the worldwide has given the say good results. There you can see say reuse of wrapping cloth in the Japan. So they have this is the one of the successful examples of the eco-friendly sustainable lifestyle in the Japan's the history. And Sweden has also have got the just right. So just right concept and philosophy has given a very good results that can be taken as a one of the best practices across the world. So this is another example where saving of the fruit garden at the fruit trees at the home garden, so which gives the shade. So these are the best practices that we can adopt. See, one simple example, if you instead of using air dryers and dishwashers, just use a natural thing, the natural the sunshine, say which is abundantly available. So that is a use of alternative energy. You can see, say, use of cloth bags is one of the best examples. And say Netherlands has got a very good the example that as the bikes are the fight for the solution of the roads. So they have promoted the use of the bikes in a very extensive manner. Say leaflets. So these are for the food instead of the single-use plastics and all. So these are all biodegradable in nature. So if at all it is littered, so it will be get say biodegradable and mixed with the soil, and will not have any impact. And saving of the energy. So this is another example where we can take from the different of the international practices. Say to embrace this as a global mass movement, as a Jan Andolan, we need to have a throwaway culture to a properly mindful utilization of anything, instead of say throw away economy to the circular economy is the bottom line of the entire this mission LiFE practice. If you see what are the different themes that as is there in this particular the LiFE is, one is saving of energy, reduction of the waste, reduction of the e-waste, adoption of healthy lifestyles, adopting the sustainable food systems, reduction of the single-use plastic, and save of the water. So these are the broad themes in which about 75 actionable points are there. That is non-exhaustive list. One can able to adopt all those actions. The objective of this particular mission is to have the nudging of the behavior of about 1 billion population across the globe, and more than 5 lakh villages to be a this LiFE compliant, and more than 3,700 LiFE ULBs and 766 say districts as a LiFE compliant. Just I would like to say show one video.
मिशन लाइफ का मंत्र है लाइफस्टाइल फॉर एनवायरमेंट। पृथ्वी पर रहने वाले प्रत्येक व्यक्ति को व्यक्तिगत प्रयासों की कामना के साथ ही आज ये मिशन लाइफ का ये विजन दुनिया के सामने रख रहा हूं।
प्रकृति बेटा, पृथ्वी पर तुम्हें क्या करना है तुम्हें पता है ना? मुझे लोगों को प्यार से इंस्पायर और लाइफ के लिए एजुकेट करना है, ताकि वो नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज का उपयोग कर इस पृथ्वी को बचाए रखें। इसमें तुम्हारी मदद करेंगी ये 3 चीजें। पहली, टियारा ऑफ फ्लावर्स, तुम्हें हमेशा हैप्पी और एनर्जेटिक रखेंगे। दूसरा, ये बैज ऑफ लाइफ, जो लोगों को पर्यावरण के लिए लाइफ जीवन शैली की याद दिलाएगा। जब वे प्रकृति की रक्षा करेंगे तो प्रकृति उनकी रक्षा करेगी। तुम ये बैज उन लोगों को भी दे सकते हो जो हमारे प्लैनेट की बेहतरी के लिए योगदान करते हैं। और तीसरा, ये बैग ऑफ होप, जब भी कोई एनवायरनमेंट को हार्म करे तो तुम इसमें से इको सस्टेनेबल ऑल्टरनेटिव निकाल कर उसे देना। ओके, अब मैं अपने मिशन पर चलती हूँ। पर्यावरण, वन और जलवायु परिवर्तन मंत्रालय, भारत सरकार।
Yeah, this is a small video on the mission LiFE. See that basically this mission has got the 3 phases. So one is change in the demand and change in the supply and change in the the change in the policy. So these are the 3 phases which is envisaged in this mission LiFE. If you see that what is the impact of the each of the activity, if you say the follow very simple small actions. Say for example, if you switch off the car, scooter engine at the traffic light, so it has got the potential to save 22.5 billion kilowatts of the energy. So that is the potential available with this simple action. Second one option is the example is the turning of the running taps. It can save a 9 trillion liters of the water. And third example, if you can take the use of the cloth bag instead of the plastic bag while shopping, can save 375 million tons of the solid waste. So this is the potential that is available with the each individual actions. The discarding of non-functioning gadgets, can save 0.75 million tons of the e-waste. Cost of food waste at the home can save 15 billions of tons of the food from the going to the landfills. So this is the potential available from the individual, the actionable points under the mission LiFE. See, this basically the idea is to align with the SDG goals, Sustainable Development Goals. It aligns the various goals of the SDGs. So particularly the goal number 12, the responsible consumption and production is the key for our mission LiFE. See what is expected from the UGC and all of you from the educational institutions, because we need the learning and we need the infrastructure, we need the facilitators, we need the enabling conditions to take this behavioral framework into a mass movement and to reach to the people, public at general. So this is how we would like to request all of you to have a very good practices, highlight the good the practices, innovative ideas and different sectors like water, transportation, food, electricity, recycle, reuse, which the small actions can able to turn into a maximum saving and will help in our climate, solving the climate crisis. Say awareness, it may be a say marathons and different the modes of the say awareness program is the one the way that has been conducted from the ministry. So we have the EIS EP centers across the country where we are taking up this the particular program. We have say named those centers as the LiFE centers. So these are basic research institutes and the different organizations say working on the field of the environment. So some of the pavilions that has been set up at Bharat Parv and the G20 the conferences, and these are the glimpse of those. We say expect the development of programs and activities to nurture the behavior of the students and scholars, then development of knowledge materials, the inclusion of LiFE in the teaching curriculum, the co-branding of LiFE in the college festival events and the important celebrations, conducting hackathons for call of ideas and innovations on LiFE, because students has got a lot of potential. They can give you very good the innovative ideas that can be taken as a programs. That is an idea behind as a calling this seminar. Thank you, and I am handing over the floor to the chairman, sir. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Shri Sharad Kumar ji. We will now move to the second speaker, Shri Parth Joshi. He is the communications officer from UNDP.
Thank you, sir, and a warm good morning to everyone. Dr. Parlela kindly presented very extensively what the LiFE framework is, what it means, and what the other actions that we can take. I would just like to take a step back and highlight how behavior change and nudges and choice architectures are important for effective climate action. Climate change, as Dr. Parella highlighted through his statistics, is the biggest crisis we face today. But it is also the biggest opportunity to change the way we develop. And we have started to seize these opportunities. We've seen the Paris Agreement, the COP26 in Glasgow, as Chairman Sir mentioned, and the whole post-COVID green recovery narrative, where governments and private sector around the world are collaborating to reduce emissions while striving to meet the development needs of people. But we need more from us as individuals, communities, and societies. The climate crisis is not just an emissions problem. From a climate communications perspective, we also realize that it is also a perception problem. As individuals and societies, we are often detached from climate change, failing to attribute our own actions as a contributor and thinking of it as something that perhaps the governments or the businesses are supposed to act against. We have a report by the United Nations Environment Programme, which estimates that nearly two-thirds of the total greenhouse gas emissions are attributable to household related consumption, which drives production processes as well. The way we travel, the way we work, eat, the clothes we wear, the electronic gadgets we use, every small habit of ours has an impact upon the climate. And it snowballs from there. Last year, in less than 7 months, we consumed more resources than the planet produces in a year. We call it the Earth Overshoot Day, and it fell on July 28 last year. And the date keeps on shifting backwards as the rate of consumption continues to grow. And there's also a dichotomy that I would like to highlight here. While we say that millions around the world are over consuming, wrongly consuming, or wasting resources like food, water, and fuel, we have large populations globally that are fighting poverty and inequality because of lack of these very resources. So life does not only mean consuming less for people who are already consuming less than what they need, it also means raising their levels of consumption to make sure that they're able to lead dignified and happy lives. Now, wealth and income, we all know as economists, have a positive correlation with consumption patterns and consequently with GHG emissions. And this results in a carbon inequality between countries. Today, the wealthiest 1% countries have more than twice the emissions of the poorest 50% countries. So the inequality is huge. And this is where behavior change matters. To combat climate change, governments initially focused on technology, policy, and regulatory means, all large scale to curb GHG emissions. But the impact was not as high as expected. And one of the reasons for that we realized was that the world has increasingly adopted a culture of consumerism. Carbon intensive lifestyles fuel global aspirations and drive consumption. Advertising and social media also play a significant role in promoting consumerism that can often be detrimental for the health of the planet. And to solve that, we need to fundamentally change our lifestyles, redefine our needs, aspirations, and identities, reorganize how we consume and interact with our social and economic systems, and reestablish our idea of what actually constitutes progress. Is it consuming more or is it consuming mindfully? And this is the idea behind Mission Life. If we measure utility in the form of personal needs and aspirations, then we all know about the law of diminishing marginal utility. After a point, we find that increase in consumption does not lead to an increase in the level of fulfillment. In fact, it might start to even decline. Just enough is the threshold after which even consumption is not increased. Fulfillment can still increase through various non-materialistic gains, such as happiness, generosity, mindfulness, social engagement, and a feeling of doing good for the planet. This is the threshold where we as individuals, societies, and eventually economies need to be at. And the motto of Mission Life, which is to move away from mindless consumption to mindful utilization echoes this philosophy. Now, long-term sustained behavior change from a consumerist lifestyle towards a simpler one with mindful consumption is a long drawn and complex process, simply because many of our unsustainable habits have become routine. Now, changing this requires people to think before every action, break their current habits, inculcate new ones consciously, while simultaneously making a mental shift in toning down our aspirations as individuals, as societies that have been fostered over the years. To help us identify these drivers of change in individuals, we have to resort to behavior science to give us an understanding of how people process information and make choices. Habit is one of the key challenges for behavior change policy. And with increased focus on individual lifestyles, a number of behavior change theories are being researched and implemented. And one of the most successful theories here, which has been put into action, is the concept of choice architecture and behavioral nudges, which help consumers take decision making towards desirable behaviors without limiting the freedom of individual to make a choice. So they do not feel like they're being penalized or they're being forced to do something. The choices have to be very instinctive in nature. A nudge makes it more likely that an individual will make a particular choice or behave in a particular way by altering the environment around him or her in a manner that is subtle, that is cost effective, and that is also context specific. Now, nudges can take many forms, but they largely describe policy design choices or actions that apply insights from behavioral science to improve consumers' existing choices. So, how can nudges combat climate change, pollution, and unsustainable use of the Earth's resources? We as humans make thousands of decisions every day, but many of these will maybe habits or choices that are not the most environment friendly. And despite knowing that we need to adapt our behaviors to combat climate change, we may still not be able to take actions needed in our daily lives to be impactful. So, what explains our failure to act when it comes to a crucial goal like saving the planet? This chasm or the difference between good intentions and actual actions is called the intention to action gap. It helps explain why we may intend to save more money, conserve more energy and water, or we may also want to buy more sustainable products. But we ultimately fall short of acting upon those thoughts or choices. Understanding how we process information and how context affects our behavior can help policymakers and businesses design more robust and cost effective interventions to ensure sustainable consumption behaviors. In recent times, we have seen a surge in formal recognition of the potential of behavioral insights to help meet policy goals. Governments around the world have set up dedicated behavioral insights entities to help them frame more effective policies. In India, we have a behavioral insights unit at the Niti Aayog. The Ministry of Environment has experts in its life cell looking at behavior change. Many universities and colleges have dedicated units on behavioral sciences today. I would like to highlight a few case studies now to elucidate on this concept of choice architecture and nudges. A poll in the city of Malmo in Sweden in 2003 revealed that more than half of the car trips made in the city were less than 5 kilometers. So, what could we do about it? The city authorities worked with sociologists and psychologists and launched a campaign called No Ridiculous Car Trips. The concept was simple. The residents were invited to submit written accounts about their most nonsensical car trips for a chance to win bicycles. So, in a humorous and memorable way, the campaign drew attention to the often habitual choice to drive short distances when people could choose to walk or bike, and implied a general public commitment to change behavioral norms. The city also gave small gifts like water bottles to cyclists as a thank you for choosing to bike. And this created a feeling of reciprocity that encouraged people to continue to ride. In terms of impact, almost 15% of the residents reported a sustainable shift in their travel behavior due to the campaign. To reduce water consumption in the town of Belen in Costa Rica, local authorities started pasting stickers on consumers' water bills. The sticker had a smiley face if the household's water consumption level was lower than the average household in the neighborhood or town, or a frowny face if the consumption was above the average. This was done in between neighborhoods as well as in between cities. In addition, the council also provided postcards along with the bill that had tips and planning prompts to help people set goals and form concrete plans to reduce their water consumption. Because making people feel guilty is not enough. We also have to give them avenues or ideas to act upon. As a result of this intervention, there was on an average about a 5% reduction in water usage. And this was, as you can see, a very simple, low-cost intervention that built upon social and community dynamics to urge people to act. We have many successful Indian schemes as well that have employed insights from behavioral thinkers. The Swachh Bharat mission is a very good case study to understand how nudge factors, along with policy, infrastructure, and communication, can bring about behavior change. Launched in 2014 to achieve universal sanitation coverage, it was one of the first policies in India with a very strong focus on behavior change. Within 5 years of being launched, household access to toilets increased to nearly 100% in almost all states. While there was the material incentive of building free toilets, ensuring that they are also used was rather a bigger challenge. And this is where the principles of behavior change were applied. Local ambassador of change, as well as big celebrities, were engaged to create a sense of solidarity around the initiative, since people tend to adhere to or emulate someone they know or admire. Participatory rural appraisals brought individuals together as a community to address the issue of sanitation collectively. For people who did not work with the collective or those who resisted, it served as a failure bias that elicited the fear of attracting the scorn of the community. By attaching a sense of disgust to open defecation through campaigns and awareness materials, it appealed to the emotions of the people, thus moving them to change. And as we saw, it had other spillover benefits too. The campaign ended up empowering many girls and women, and the mission has been instrumental in improving the literacy rates and consequently discouraging early marriage of girls. So we can see how an environmental initiative can also have lasting social impacts. Now, higher education institutions globally are increasingly recognizing their responsibility to prepare students as well as the society to actively contribute to climate change adaptation and mitigation. Within this broader context, we have some key areas of action. First, we can develop curricula and pedagogical approaches that explore more intricately the interlinkages between behavior change and climate action. This can be done by advancing research in behavioral sciences in areas such as sociology, psychology, and communication, and also integrating it in other streams of education, especially in STEM fields, as they guide how our economic systems function to a very large extent. There is already a very strong movement of interdisciplinary studies that we see in the Indian education system as it is evolving. And when it comes to climate and environmental education, adding the lens of behavior change can add much more dynamism and relevance to research and curricula. We also need more action-oriented research that can inform policy. All these interventions that I highlighted in the case studies earlier are all guided by insights derived from academic research that give policymakers new ideas and solutions to test. In fact, the very idea of nudge, as was popularized by a book by Dr. Richard Thaler and Dr. Cass Sunstein, was developed through a rigorous study of policies that succeeded and failed. So this relationship between research and policy needs to be developed further. Second, we also need to utilize LiFE as a platform for climate innovation. And this is where higher education institutions have a very important role to play. You might be aware that Niti Aayog had recently organized a LiFE global call for ideas, where academic institutions and researchers were invited to submit ideas on behavior change initiatives for environmental friendly lifestyles. The selected ideas within this campaign, which are expected to be announced this year around World Environment Day, will be given a chance to be developed further and tested. Now, our higher education institutions can scale up these platforms and also take them to local and regional levels to encourage new ideas. This can be through innovation challenges, hackathons, etc. Third, higher education institutions have huge untapped potential when it comes to mass communication. Within their society or the areas that they're located in, educational institutions command a high level of respect and are themselves well positioned to lead many nudges around their campuses. Think cleanliness drives, reducing use of plastics, promoting cycling or clean mobility, or simply creating green spaces where people can engage with nature. Lastly, institutions need to become carbon neutral in their own operations. This is not an uncharted territory, I must admit, and we have many campuses in the country that are doing commendable work. But if we are to achieve the ambitious targets that the Honorable Prime Minister has envisioned, and as Dr. Parilla showed the LiFE KPIs to us, we need each and every institution to come on board. I will give you a very simple example of a nudge that we did here at the UNDP India office. In order to reduce our paper use, as we were redesigning the office space, we removed all drawers and also did away with the concept of fixed seats for employees. So any UNDP staff could sit at any seat in the office, due to which all the desks had to be empty by the end of each day. Now, this meant that if people had a lot of printouts, they had to carry it with them. And as you can guess, this drastically reduced our paper consumption. And now we are almost 90% paperless, I must say. We also started using softwares like DocuSign to take all the paperwork online. So there was no need of printouts for a majority of the official work. Climate change was caused by billions of people making lifestyle choices over centuries that were harmful for the planet. It may seem like a very overwhelming problem to us now, but if these very billions of people can make equitable pro-planet lifestyle choices, supported by a technology and policy ecosystem that makes it easier for us to adopt such choices, we can reach our goal of net zero within our anticipated time frame. And educational institutions, which are at the heart of our society and our economy, are vital to help create this generation of pro-planet people. I would like to stop here and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Both the speakers have covered a wide range of issues on how we should change our behavior through small steps, through things that we do every day, how we can protect ourselves and our environment which sustains us. And there are many other things within the university system itself we can do. For example, can we make our university campuses zero discharge campuses? Don't let any sewage into the city's sewage lines, but recycle and reuse both solid wastes and liquid waste. Can you minimize wastage of the electricity in our classrooms and in other academic areas? We often see teachers and students leaving the class after the lecture is over and with the fans and lights running, which is a complete wastage of our electricity. Universities also should explore the possibility of generating solar power so that it will augment their power supply needs. And more importantly, all universities should strive to make sure that their offices and their operations become completely paperless. And we have excellent tools now to conduct the entire life cycle of the students and the administration using appropriate ERPs and e-offices. And if you stop using the paper, we will be collectively protecting thousands and thousands of trees. And also the material, the ink that is used for printing, that can also have chemicals which may not be very friendly to the environment. But all this can start only through behavioral change at an individual level and better communication to all these stakeholders and also innovative research to see how newer ways of consumption can be developed so that collectively we protect our environment and the life forms that coexist along with us on Earth. I'm very, very thankful to both the reviewers who have provided a very, very comprehensive understanding of the challenges in front of us. I would like to now take, if there are any questions from the audience, the questions can come in the chat box, or you can raise your electronic hand, or you can also post your queries in our social media platforms if you are watching there. So let me now begin with Dr. N.V. Ramana Rao. Could you please go ahead? Please unmute him. Could you please unmute Professor Ramana Rao? Yeah.
Yeah, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Actually, a lot of good ideas have come through your presentations. In fact, we want to make as a pilot study in our campus. But how do you really make an assessment that what is the change in the carbon content before and after taking certain steps? Is there anything, because, this is like, we want to do it as a case study. We have done many of the measures, what you have mentioned in your both the presentations. We are trying to make our campus carbon neutral. But what is the impact? How do you assess the impact after, say, 1 year? Is there a change in?
So let us ask one of the experts to answer that question.
Yes. So in order to say monitoring of the impact is a bit difficult, but there are the scientific experts. So initially you need to have a base. So what is the base survey? So what are those? So again is the base. So in a time scale, over a period of time. So what is the jump and the leapfrogging from the base can be taken as an impact. So this impact, since it is related to the behavioral change, so it may not be the completely attributable to one single action, but it may be the cumulative of the several other the actions also. So that's how we can able to say measure the impact, the carrying the base study and the periodical study after the implementation of any action in a particular place on the campus.
Right. There is one more hand, electronic hand raised. Please unmute him. We also have Professor V.K. Jain with us.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Am I audible, sir?
Please go ahead. Yes.
Yeah. Good morning, sir. One small, observation I have, that when you undergo certain inspections, say with respect to NAC and all, a very huge amount of paperwork is required to be presented. So is there any way that we can, have the systems where soft copies of certain items could be accepted, so that I think quintals, if not tons of paper, get involved when NAC inspection or any other inspection has to take place. So that's for your consideration, sir.
Right. Absolutely. You're absolutely right that any documents that we collect as a regulator or assessment body, everything should be a portal-based collection of data, or a soft copy should be collected. In fact, those practices we have already implemented in UGC. We interact with thousands of stakeholders across the country, and we receive all the data only in soft form. And we have clear instructions to our officers also in UGC that they will only reply through email or through the web portal. So all of us have to adopt these good practices, and I completely agree with you on that. Right. Professor V.K. Jain, would you like to say something?
Yeah, just for the benefit of one of the person who asked this question about the how do you measure the impact of some of the measures which the higher education institutions may undertake at their campuses. There is a software which is available and which actually gives you the carbon footprint of the campus. So one can make a start by this simple software, and I do know that there are some institutions in the country which have done this exercise. So, Dr. Ramana, you asked this question. I think to begin with, you can look at the carbon footprint of your campus and see what is the impact of the behavioral change over a period of time, let's say 5 years or 10 years, how much this carbon footprint has been reduced.
Right. Now, Professor V.K. Jain is an expert in environmental sciences from JNU and former Vice Chancellor. Professor Ramana, maybe you can get in touch with him and get the details on this software. Pardaji, would you like to say something? You have raised your hand.
Yes, I just wanted to add to what Dr. Jain said and to respond to Dr. Ramana. So, in terms of initiatives that universities can take, the United Nations Environment Program has a document called the Little Book of Green Nudges, which is targeted specifically at educational institutions and universities. So it's an open source document available online. UNEP also had a Green Universities program which was running. So these could be useful resources for you to look at. Yeah, thank you.
UGC also brings out the guidelines from time to time, especially on the education in the area of environmental sciences. And as you know, it is compulsory for all students to take at least 3 credits of these courses related to environment. And universities also have to play a key role in conducting seminars and webinars by calling experts from different institutions, so that students get interested in these issues right from the beginning. Many universities are already doing that, but many more have to join in this collective effort. Diksha, are there any questions from the social media platforms?
Sir, there was one which I shared with you, sir.
Okay, a question from Dr. Shubham Lamba, CCS, HAU, Hisar. Who are pro-planet people? How to be a member among them? Partha Joshiji can answer this.
Okay, so I would actually say there's no fixed criteria for that, but as a person, your carbon footprint is minimal. I would not say it's zero. From the moment you start, the food you consume is grown in a manner that is amenable to the environment. Your choice of transport is as clean as possible. I understand it's not possible for all of us to take metros, but we can carpool. The electricity you use, that's very important. And there was this very interesting point highlighted by Mr. Sonam Wangchuk, whom all of us must be aware of. And his concept was very simple. He said, at my university, we rise with the sun and we try to wrap our day as the sun sets. By doing that, I automatically minimize my energy consumption in the night. So by calling it an early night, it's just not good for our own health. It's also reduces our energy consumption quite a lot. So 3-4 key areas: energy, food, transport, and construction. And construction in the sense we all buy houses, rent houses. So eventually when we make those choices, we choose choices that are clean. So energy, food, transport, I would say are the 3 key areas that you can look at in terms of your habit in your daily lifestyles. And those are also the easiest to work on. And the last point would be an appreciation of nature, because what we realize is in today's modern society, because we are disconnected from nature, we do not realize its value. And in the pandemic, we saw the impact that it had on us, how we lost contact with nature, and it had an impact bearing on our physical as well as mental health. So making a conscious effort to spending time in nature can go a long way in making us a pro-planet people, or pro-planet person, I must say. Thank you.
Wonderful. I think we have spent almost close to 1 hour now. And I would like to thank all the participants who have joined on our Zoom platform, and also all those who are watching this program on our social media platforms. I would like to thank both Shri Sharad Kumar Pallerla from the Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change, and also Shri Parth Joshi from UNDP for their wonderful lecture and for creating awareness about the concept behind the LiFE proposed by our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji. So with those comments, I would like to conclude here. Thank you.